at the beginning, we were going to everybody's house. Like, every time someone would call in a sales call, we would set up a meeting, go there, give them a folder. It was very just like hands-on. That's all we really had to do with sales at that point. But yeah, that was 7 years ago, 0 houses, and we've made it come a long way.
Today I'm speaking with Greg and Steve Shannon, based out of Houston, Texas. They founded Shannon Property Management 7 years ago and have grown their business to manage over 1,100 doors throughout the Houston metro area in just those 7 years. So they have a lot of experience and have achieved growth at a very quick pace. And I'm fortunate enough that they agreed to speak with me today. So without further ado, let's get to it so you can start to learn from them. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. To kick things off, can you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, your background in property management, and experience that led you to where you are today?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having us. I'm Steven and Greg. Shannon, and yeah, we're down in Houston, Texas. We're Shannon Property Management. And so we got started, it's coming on 7 years ago. Yeah, I have a background in construction in our construction company, and I grew up kind of working summers and being involved with that a lot. And we both have business degrees from the University of Texas, and always kind of used to shoot ideas over to each other. Let's do this, let's do a little bit of this, let's do that. So yeah, I've got the construction background. Greg has the accounting background from UT. Shout out, #1 accounting program in the country. But basically, yeah, one of my good buddies started a property management company in Oklahoma, and he was 2 or 3 years into it. And like I said, we were kind of kicking ideas around with each other, and I'm talking to him, and he's like, dude, you should just do this. This is a pretty interesting business model. And I had really never thought of it, and so we started talking about it and this and that and exploring what it would look like. And we both got our real estate license and just decided that the business model seems pretty solid, and we could kind of just set up a shingle and get going. And that's really what we did. We just kind of launched, created the LLC, launched a website. We had 0 properties, 0 experience ever doing property management. We just kind of built a website and said, we'll do it for you. Got some pay-per-click, and people started calling us. Like, we were kind of like surprised when the phone started ringing. And, at the beginning, we were going to everybody's house. Like, every time someone would call in a sales call, we would set up a meeting, go there, give them a folder. It was very just like hands-on. That's all we really had to do with sales at that point. But yeah, that was 7 years ago, 0 houses, and we've made it come a long way.
I'd say that's an understatement. You guys are at around 1,000 doors, if I'm not mistaken, and that's in a short time period. A lot of companies never reach that mark, and the ones that do usually take a lot longer than the 7 years in which you guys were able to accomplish that goal. So
a little over 1,100.
Yeah.
So, just to give ourselves full credit.
Yeah. This past year, 2025, we crossed over the 1,000 door mark. We netted 240 doors last year, so crossed over to now a little over 1,100 today.
Amazing. So how long did it take you guys, let's say, to get to the first 100 doors, and what strategies were you guys using to bring on new properties at first?
I don't know exactly when we hit 100 doors, but I know for the first 3 or 4 years, we were doubling every year. So you might recall some of the numbers a little bit better, but 100 probably took the full year, I think. And then the next year was 200, then 400, and just, grinding it out. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, quick break from the interview, just for a second. If you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance you're looking to grow your property management business. Our team at Upkeep Media is offering a free property management lead generation session to all podcast listeners. Just visit our website at upkeepmedia.com/growth. Fill out the form on that page, enter the coupon code podcast, and you'll sign up for a free property management lead gen session. A team member will reach out to you at the time that you book. During that call, we'll show you what your top local competitors are doing to bring on new properties to manage. We'll take a look at where you're currently positioned online, and then give you actionable strategies that you can use to grow your property management business. Just visit upkeepmedia.com/growth, fill out the form on that page, and we'll speak with you soon. All right, let's get back to the interview. And let's say once you started to scale, at what point did you go, okay, this is getting a little more difficult, I need to bring in some help? And what was your first who was your first hire?
I think we started to realize how difficult this industry was. Let's see, that was about door 1. It just started, you quickly realize this is not easy. So we did start to realize that, very early, just like, yeah, this is a lot of work. I'm kind of kidding about one door, but yeah, early on, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. You start probably around 20 doors, you start to feel like, okay, there's like kind of a lot going on. There's a lot of balls in the air here. We knew, just having spoken with other people in the industry and whatnot, about the virtual, the remote team members, international and whatnot. So we were pretty early on. I mean, within a few months, probably 3 or 4 months, I think September, yeah, probably like 3 months or so, we hired like a half-time remote team member in Venezuela, who's now she's still with us in Venezuela, but we have everybody else is in Mexico. But it was just like that was the connection we had. And she was really helping us, just mainly on the sales side and on the admin side, just input data. Every time we had a sales call, we had to build out a contract and send it to them. That's how we were doing it.
Which now we use Zapier integrations and within Lead Simple to do some of that. So, but we were kind of manually putting together those contracts. So she was doing that, and then when we would sign a client, get them all up in AppFolio and just do a lot of the back end stuff. But that was pretty quick, and we were pretty quick to do that, and it helped out a ton. I mean, because I was like, half time of one of us is quite a lot of hours a week. And there's the Evernest podcast that used to be called 300 to 3000, and we still listen to that podcast religiously, but it's funny that they named it the 300, because that's really when we realized, okay, we need to build out processes, invest in different process building softwares, and really build out this team, build out our team structure. We're still somewhat pod structure, but getting more into departmental today. So trying to strike that proper hybrid balance of those two structures. But I would say around 300, you can't really handle all the lease renewals, all the delinquencies without having proper systems in place.
For sure. I think that's kind of the point where you go from being able to make it through just pure hustle and grit to now needing to actually build a system and a business to make sure you can continue to scale.
Yeah.
So at what point did you guys start to really focus on your marketing? Because you got to 1,100 doors in a pretty short amount of time. What have been the different channels you've used to bring on so many owners? Because I assume it's not just coming from one place.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, we've had just a bit of a journey, and we still are on marketing. I mean, we started with, and not that we really ever had a problem with them. They were actually pretty great, but we don't work with them anymore just for different reasons. We're doing it more just through other methods. But we worked with Geek marketing, and so that was like pay per lead, and also APM. And that was Geek was they're going to sell you an individual lead that only goes to you. APM was the one. All Property Management was the one that goes to many different people. So you have to like hurry, and like time is of the essence. And so that was kind of almost fun. You have to like race to other companies, and Lead Simple has the product that would automatically call them right back. So we would like scare people how quickly they would hit a button, submit, and we would be like, hey, this is Steven's Property Management. And so it was us doing that on the sales side. But as far as marketing goes, it was really like kind of pay per lead programs at the beginning, and
SEO, Google Ads.
Google and the pay per click Google Ads.
For the most part, all online marketing, and trying to bring in the warm leads and then just be quick to calling. And more recently, we're trying to develop more of a relationship with local agents in Houston. I think in Houston alone, there's 45,000 realtors. So, trying to become best friends with them, going to networking events, and trying to do more social media posting and things like that.
And then just to tie a bow on the online thing, you guys helped us make the transition. Definitely. Really from pay per lead. We don't do that too much anymore, but we were still doing pay per click for a long time on Google until, I guess, we ended up with some relatively solid domain authority, enough to where y'all were like, don't do pay per click. You're going to cannibalize yourself. You're in a pretty good position. Just keep focusing on the SEO. So we kind of shifted from any type of pay per click advertising on Google to essentially purely SEO in terms of Google advertising.
Yeah, but part of that's also because the landscape changed. So when you guys came in, PPC was working really well, and then it started to get more and more expensive over the last few years. The way you guys did it was perfect though, and that's still how I'd recommend it for companies that are just starting out. Pay per lead is a no brainer, right? You're paying, the leads come in right away, and when you're first starting out, that's what you need. You need oxygen, you need business, right? And then as you grow and you want to continue to scale, that's when it's time to really start focusing in on your own marketing, so that kind of, as you mentioned, you're not in a race between the other 5 companies in your market that are also chasing after that exact same lead.
There is one secret ingredient that we have to the marketing and sales side, and not sure everyone will be able to obtain that ingredient, but that's now for the last 2.5 years or so. Our mom, Amy, shout out Amy Shannon, is our business development manager, who's just raking it in, bringing in all the doors, and she's getting paid for it, but she's doing a great job.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what we joke about. She jokes about. It's like, wait, your job is just to talk about how great your kids are all day. She's like, man, y'all pay me for that? I'll do that for free. So yeah, she loves it and she crushes it because she's got some passion behind it. So it's been great. Our closing rate is solid.
That's awesome. I've heard of Amy before from our team, and we've heard she's really on the ball. So Amy, if you're listening to this, hats off. Good job. So at this point, like, what does your team look like? Because I assume there's a lot more than just the original VA that you brought in from Venezuela and your mother managing over 1,100 doors. It's a fair amount of work. So can you walk us through a little bit what your team looks like, what their roles are, and kind of how it came to be?
Yeah, we're close to 60 employees total now, and about 25 are remote team members, primarily in Mexico. And they're between leasing coordinators, maintenance coordinators, and client success managers, which are pretty much assistant property managers. We have 7 property managers right now, 2 senior property managers above them. And then we have an accounting role here in Houston, an HR role here in Houston, a couple remote accounting employees. And then we do primarily all of our, unless it's a specialty trade, we do a lot of our maintenance in-house. And so you could tell them how that's split up.
Sure. Yeah. And I will just, one caveat, I think, 55 to 60 folks. But some of those are technically 1099. So we have, on the maintenance field side of things, we have like 4 W-2 maintenance technicians who are doing work orders and whatnot. And then we have 2, and the rest of the guys are technically 1099, but I mean, we do keep them quite busy, but they're independent contractors technically. We have 2 inspectors / estimators, and then I think 9 make-ready technicians. So they go in groups of 2 or 3, but we keep them pretty dang busy on like a project basis, and we're doing several a week.
How do you guys figure out when it's time to hire a new team member? Do you have any structure for that, or is it kind of like?
I mean, so it's kind of an interesting time period right now for us for that question, because we've historically for the last several, and we kind of just groped blindly our way into structure. I mean, I remember just like it's a kind of a difficult question to ask. I don't know. I was not like getting the information I needed at like NARPM conferences and stuff. I was like, how are y'all structured? I didn't really have it in our. I don't think we completely understood, but we naturally kind of evolved into a pod structure. And our pods became pods of 4, which is a licensed real estate agent, property manager in Houston with 3 remote team members kind of on their team, which was a maintenance coordinator, a leasing coordinator, and what we call a client success manager, who is essentially the direct point of contact for the tenant and setting up utilities and just all day-to-day operations involved with communicating with the resident. So that team of 4, we want to manage 200 doors is kind of what we've pushed towards. We have some of them now up to, some, if you do the math, then we don't have 1,400 doors. So we're far below where we want to be on that. But, we do have some of them. We've hired some new people recently, so that has brought down the average. We have a couple of those pods are in the 180 range, or like above 180. So, but a couple of them are like well below 130. So, that's kind of where we're landing with that. But our general philosophy has been and still is hire early. Yeah. We just hire early and we give up margin because of it, and we know that. And we're just kind of like got a long-term mentality where we're like, we want to be the best. We want to like provide real quality service to our clients, and we want to just do this right, and in the long run, that's going to be what drives our success, and we're going to be the best that we can at this, and that means we're going to need the people to do it, and we're not going to push people and deal with a lot of like turnover where I think we've really made that it's part of it, and it gets tough and it gets stressful and people get stressed out, and we try to accommodate that, but we are very cognizant of work-life balance and like not pushing people to the edge. And I think we recently lost a remote team member who had been with us for about 5 years, and she was great. And we've just recently, we're having this conversation. That is actually the first person we've lost that we've not wanted to lose. That's been like, oh man, we didn't want that to happen. I mean, we generally, people come with us, they stick with us. That lady, the first person we hired 3 months in, she's still with us. I've got a bunch of people 4, 5, 6 years in here with us. So our philosophy has been and is hire early, and there's pros and cons to that, but that's kind of what we are. I guess the last thing I was going to say, but real quick, just talking about the structure for what it's worth, if anyone's interested. I mean, we are removing the leasing team member from the pods and creating more of a centralized service around leasing and breaking that into specific roles around renewals, application screening, and communication during vacancy with applicants and things. So we're going to have a 3-person pod and leasing be centralized.
What was the thought process behind that? Like, what made you break that off from the pods?
Leasing was one of the departments where we realized that some leasing coordinators would be super swamped while others weren't, and there was a little bit of an imbalance in workload. One one pod might have 20 houses on the market while another only had a few. So we think switching to the more departmental roles is just going to be a little bit better to balance the workload. And we're also implementing a couple new leasing softwares that should help support these changes as well.
So you touched on them a little bit before, but I think one thing that's really unique about your guys' background is you kind of went into this having no experience in the real estate industry. So a lot of times people have been a realtor, they turned into property management. From what you guys have told me, it's basically like you had a friend, I have an idea who that friend is, in Oklahoma, and basically we're like, let's do it. How did you guys learn? Like, where
you got it. I mean, I had the construction, he had the accounting, and / also you did have some real estate, even though it technically wasn't a traditional real estate role, but I guess
I mean, just growing up brothers, we always kicked around business ideas and just wanted to just get away from working in the corporate world and doing something for ourselves. We knew we had strong work ethics and could figure it out. And after working in accounting for a little bit, I did work for a company called Concierge Auctions, which was a luxury residential auction house, and a pretty cool job, selling multi-million-dollar properties at auction, which is completely different than going to fix clogged toilets today. We go see some crazy stuff at our properties. But and just having our friend in Oklahoma as a guide and doing, reading as many books as we could and just doing the research and getting our real estate license and learning, joining NARPM, joining BNI, going to the monthly chapter meetings and the annual events, and just, absorbing as much as we could and just, fully dedicating our lives to property management.
Just being a sponge. Essentially.
Yeah. The first few years, I mean, we did everything. We had someone supporting some of the admin stuff, but we were out doing everything. So we did. We feel like we paid some dues over the first. We're still paying dues. What am I talking about? We're still paying dues, but we really hands-on did a lot. Also, shout out. We can just say his name, right? Matt Zock, key renter Tulsa / Indianapolis, Northwest Arkansas / wherever else. He's got 8 different regions. He's been a huge help to us, and we still mastermind things. And he was in town just the other day. So.
Cool, awesome. So at this point, what does a typical day look like for each of you? What are your roles in the business? Can you walk me through a little bit what that looks like for you?
Yeah. I mean, I guess most people would say kind of, that's going to change day to day. But we're out of the, day-to-day grind of, reviewing rental applications and dispatching maintenance, at this point. But the bigger problems do percolate to us still. So there's always 2 or 3, that are either have lawyers involved or are, that type of thing. So we're dealing with that, and not that we've ever done anything wrong. Well, we've probably done something wrong, but I mean, honestly, not much to deserve a lawyer, I would say. But they still pop out. People still go pull that card sometimes. So we're always dealing with kind of the bigger money or liability issues. But besides that, I think we're really focused on just. We talk a lot about Kaizen, just getting 1% better. That Japanese term about getting 1% better every day, and we really try to live and breathe that. So like we just switched our leasing software, and that's made a big improvement. We're looking at like all of our softwares kind of constantly, all of our software systems. We're always kind of like, it's like our processes are very built out and lead simple, but it's kind of like the Golden Gate Bridge, where once you get done setting it up, you got to go look at the first process again and kind of fix it. So we're like always iterating on our process, like and so it's hard to say day to day, but yeah, we're like just doing a ton of things to just try to push the needle and improve us, bit by bit.
Yeah. So at this point, would you say it's more, I think Matt Zock had actually said this when he was on the podcast, but trying to find fires or things that could become a fire and putting them out before they ever become so?
Definitely. I would say liability, reducing our liability is still the top priority that we focus on all the time. I mean, just, obtaining as much insurance as we can. And then, we just revised our management agreement, and we're about to revise management agreement and addendum that we send out. And we're about to do the same project with our lease here in Texas and lease addendum. And just reducing liability wherever we can is a top goal.
And then we're doing management. We've got a management team under us. We're doing 1-to-1s. We're in several level 10. I think we have 12 level 10s across the company. We don't attend them all, but we attend 2 or 3 a week and different things. So we stay pretty busy. It's actually pretty interesting. I think we were talking about this the other day. Like the last couple of summers, certainly last summer, like I think Greg and I work harder on the quote unquote off season, like September through May. We're like, just, okay, this is how summer, it's like summer is like, okay, things are happening. The things that we do are like setting us up for success for the summer. But like last summer, it was like, okay, we worked hard and made a lot of improvements and changes September through May. May comes, we're not making changes. We're just trying to stay above water. So it's like, I wasn't really, we were less, it was kind of like we could take time off during the summer more so than we can now, because now we're like trying to make all these improvements and stuff so that we're going to have a successful summer.
It's the opposite of Game of Thrones. Summer is coming.
Yeah.
So
we always say
I think we need 2 t-shirts made. Summer is coming and I need a cigarette.
It's kind of like a professional athlete, right? Summer is like in season, they're not training, they're not working out. And then the second the season's over is when they're training, trying to get better for the next season.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So at this point, do you guys have a preferred type of property or client that you like taking on? Like, do you prefer working with investors that have multiple properties? Do you prefer the kind of accidental landlord? What does that look like for you guys, and why is that?
I don't think we have a preference, because every personality is unique and different. And, we like to say that we screen our owners almost as much as we screen our residents, which is very thorough. We also say we don't work with assholes, but I would say we have a healthy balance of both. Probably more recently with interest rates over the last couple of years, more accidental landlords here in Houston, and it being such an international city, owners moving across the globe and then planning on returning home. So those would be more accidental landlords. Our average rent, and we decided to do this. I mean, initially we were saying yes to every single thing. The first few years, crazy Class C, Class D apartments, multifamily. Now we have a cookie cutter in our office, and we say we're staying in this cookie cutter.
Literally on the wall, we have a cookie cutter.
Yeah, we should probably make some cookies at some point.
Yeah.
T-shirts and cookies.
Yeah. But our average rent is $2,600, and really pretty much all single family. We'll take
in Houston, that's pretty solid.
Yeah. And we'll take some 8, 12 quadplexes, but for the most part, single family homes. And on the sales side, that's hard to gain one house at a time, because our ratio for owners per house is pretty low.
1.2 or something. Most people just have.
But it's, as a business, it's nice to be diversified too.
Definitely.
You lose 1 or 2 owners, it's you'll get that back.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's usually slower to grow that way, but your business is so much more stable. As you said, you lose one or two owners, it's not really going to impact your business in any way. Whereas if you have that one owner that has 100 doors or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
a significant chunk of the business. So I think you're in a really good position because of the way that you guys have built that up at this point. So during your time in property management, what would you guys say is a crazy story that you could share with me? So craziest experience that you guys have encountered or that you can legally say.
Houston is humid and humidity creates mold. So I would just say, do what you can to protect yourself from mold in properties. If you're a management company in Texas or Florida, I don't know if we want to get into details too much.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean I don't know. I feel like we're also looking for something like entertaining. I don't know what else this. I mean, yeah, I don't know what exactly to come up with. Yeah, I mean, like we used to manage a really really rough apartment. Like we don't do any apartments now. Even we the last one we did was like a 60 unit north of Houston. That was new construction, brand new, Class A, like huge swimming pool and everything. But even that, we were just like, yeah, nah, we don't like it. So we stopped doing it. But we managed this really rough one outside of Houston, and it was when we first started, and I was like putting like eviction notices on the doors, and there's literally just like, I don't know, I don't want to get into too much either, but criminal activity, there's like guns visible, and I just kind of like, okay, yeah, I think this is like I don't really think this is what we need to be doing. Let's go manage nice homes in Houston. So yeah.
At what size did you guys make that conscious decision of, okay, we're no longer going to take on anybody that walks through the door. Now we're going to get really specific and only work with higher end properties?
I think we've just continued to fine tune it to some degree, but I mean, probably after the first 2 years or so,
Yeah.
I mean, we'd always be like, man, this apartment complex is such a pain, but it is bringing in revenue. But it's like, well, you know what? If you just send your 30-day notice to stop managing that property and focused on getting better at managing properties that you want to manage, you're actually going to grow faster and stay in your lane and be a better property manager.
But you need the baseline revenue to do anything. So
Yeah.
it's just like at the beginning, we couldn't have done it without taking on just anything we could get, because you just need something. You need scale to keep a handyman busy so he'll pick up your phone call. Scale is just such a crucial component of this. So without any type of scale, you just are kind of, you don't really have much leverage or anything.
This is just our perspective. I mean, other people have a perspective of, I rather not as nice properties because there's more maintenance and I could make some revenue on the maintenance side.
Yeah.
But like we're just completely aligned with our owners, where we want just residents to pay on time. We don't want problems to happen at the property. If we could all just go chill on the beach, we'd be fine.
Yeah, but we've found our lane. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's just where we are comfortable and what we have gravitated towards. But we started off, we didn't really 100% know. We were like, property management, I guess you just manage whatever type of property you can get. But we've gravitated towards what we want to manage, and that's what right now. Like Greg says, we continue to refine. Our mom is like, I can't, she's kind of like, what, but she's actually, we've joked about this on a different podcast, but yeah, she doesn't want us managing certain types of Class D properties. She's like, she doesn't want us doing that either.
Word for a boy.
But now it's gotten to the point where we're like so refining what we want. She's like, all right, well, now I can't sell anything, because we've really been pretty picky lately, because it's just like, it's not worth the headache.
Yeah. I think the key thing there is, I mean, as you said, Greg, that's what you chose, but it's just being super clear on what it is you want as the business, right? Mm-hmm. If you only want to manage Class A properties, just go all in on that and know that's what you're about, not kind of flip-flopping back and forth, and one day you're willing to do it, the next day you're not.
Right. Yeah, that takes that can be hard, honestly. You get pulled, it's like, ooh, that'd be nice to do that. Maybe we just bend the rules a little bit. And we're still not perfect, but we've gotten pretty disciplined around it.
So at this point, aside from your business, how do you invest your money outside of the business? Is it all in real estate? What does that look like for you guys?
The other company, I mean, you're talking about what we're trying to...
Well, I mean, me and Steven together own 2 houses in Houston that we manage under the company. And I think our goal is to continue to buy 1 to 2 properties a year if possible. And then, like when you get to this size at 1,100 doors, there's just so many other opportunities if you still have the drive that you could pursue.
So yeah, I guess that's what I was just thinking of. The first thing that came in my mind. I mean, like right now we're kind of we got like 3 entities we're trying to stand up, and it's not all requiring a ton of investment, but some. But like basically just and they're all kind of happening a bit organically. Just like, well, we're doing this, we might as well like kind of break it off and focus on it a little bit. So like a brokerage doing buy sell, I think we have like 12 or 13 listings right now, and we're like, we need to put some guardrails on this and like really, so we're hiring somebody to really oversee the buy sell team and stuff. And then air conditioning, we recently hired a licensed air conditioning contractor role, and so we're going to kind of break that off, and then that's going to definitely take some time and resources to stand up. And then a little bit of an interesting one, I think we've talked to you guys a little bit about it. If not, we need to talk more. Is like a concierge home service company. And I think this is kind of getting into the water a little bit in the property management world. But like, homeowners who are not renting their home, like it's a pain in the butt to manage a home that you live in, that you own. Especially, if you just moved to a new city, or even if you've been here a while, it's like it's a roof, you got a floor, you got a window, you got an AC, you just Google these things, and just have a one-off transaction with some contractor you've never met. So what we're trying to set that up to be kind of like a subscription service, single point of contact. You get basically a property manager, but it'll be more like a concierge maintenance coordinator. And we'll do anything. We manage a bunch of houses. We can pretty much do it all. So either in-house or we have relationships with vendors and contractors who it's a relationship based thing, not a transactional thing. So yeah, we're pretty excited about that.
Awesome. So in short, putting our profits back into this business and some other business ideas.
Cool. I mean, that's one of the beauties of property management. It's like you can actually start other businesses off the back of it.
Right.
The property management company feeds that business, especially when it's first getting going. And then you start opening it up to other property management companies, to direct to consumer. Depends what the business is, but yeah, we've seen that a lot with a lot of our clients.
Yeah.
So if you could go back in time to when you started this journey, what is the one thing that you would change to help yourself succeed at a faster pace? And that succeed doesn't necessarily mean grow faster. It's whatever your definition of success is.
I like to think everything in life is just all about balance. So it's like defining, like what we talked about, defining the properties that you want to manage, and then putting all your effort into that.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I mean, just taking on some of those that were just really a time and energy drainer. But that being said, we needed to learn some lessons from that, and we came out of it with our skin. So that it's hard to say there's much we would have changed. I mean, honestly, I don't. I'd have to really think about it. I mean, we obviously there's things that didn't go great or this or that, but we definitely learned from it, and some of it was just at the time we needed something to do, and so we did it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to think about like a really like there's not like a man, we really should have done A and we did B, and that was just really.
You guys have.
At one point, we were considering like looking into managing like huge apartment complexes with like on-site staff and getting into
And we decided explicitly not to. I mean, we were going to bring on this guy who was very experienced in Houston, and he had 1,500 doors he could have given us right away. But we would have really moved our focus from single family. This was early on. We had 100 doors or something. We would have moved our focus from single family to multifamily. That is a big pivot where I think we took it right.
Yeah, it's a whole other business model.
Yeah, a whole other. We didn't realize. We were like, oh man. Then we started kind of really thinking about it, it was like, this actually is literally, I mean, it's not NARPM, it's just a completely different industry.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I think I'll just kind of summarize what you guys said as you were thinking through it is basically just like staying focused on the type of properties you guys wanted to manage. Naturally, when you're first starting, you need to bring on stuff just so that you get experience, that you have some revenue coming in, and then just focusing down into like the actual niche you want to be in. That be a decent summary of?
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably we probably could have done that a little bit quicker. Like we probably were taking on some properties that we ended up. We dropped them, and it was just more effort than revenue. It was just like we lost. It was a net loser. We dropped a lot of those.
And for a couple of years, I don't know that we're still doing this, but for a couple of years in December, as a little holiday gift to our property managers, we'd be like, all right, you could choose a couple properties that aren't doing too well, that we could offload, and that really just didn't fit our criteria. And so
I think we still do that.
Yeah,
I think we did that this year.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that's the holiday gift. It's like, hey,
There's bonuses.
yeah. Quarterly.
that's interesting. Which clients do you really not like working with, and we'll just get rid of them? The holiday. Okay.
Do that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. For anyone that wants to connect with you, like, what would be the best place for them to reach out?
You can go to the website is shannonpropertymanagement.com if you want to just like see a little bit about what we're up to, and there should be contact information there. I guess you can reach out to our emails or Steven and Greg at shannonmgt.com.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Those are 2 emails. Okay, thanks
All right.
Steven. Take
Take
care.
care.
Okay, man. Appreciate it.